Good evening, and welcome back to Savannah by Night, our Vampire the Masquerade game here on Knights of Silver Moon. But that is, of course, not our only game. On Tuesday, we have our Age of Myth, which is coming up on its finale. Thursdays, we have the Age of Innovation, which is a sequel sidequel. Delayed start sequel, maybe, it's the way to look at it. And the occasional Friday is our Star Wars game with Martel, aka Artem over here.
The next one is next Friday, the 21st. Correct, Martel?
Nice. Unfortunately, Sam, you're going to have to remind me, we're not on next week here.
Sorry?
Are we streaming next week?
We are not streaming next week. We will be streaming the week after, but by the time we do stream the week after, every episode of Savannah by Night should be up on the Knights of Silver Moon YouTube. So you can take that week that will be off to catch up on all of the episodes so that you are up to date on everything our neonates have been up to.
And if you want to make any clips of any particular moments, like say I'm dying as one character or another, that would be phenomenal.
Or
this helps our end of year
short
montage.
Compilation.
We can
compilation of the botches.
You've in parentheses ongoing.
It'll be like the Krillin counter.
There's the Christiana collection and the Lila. It's a good L word. We'll figure it out.
Ellie.
Library?
Her lewd.
Yeah, the Lila Library. That's a good one.
I do think a compilation of botches sounds.
We'll get
there have
there.
been some major ones already.
But before we go any further, I want to take a moment to say happy birthday to our producer, Sam.
Happy
who-
birthday.
Without him, this show would not be happening, so thank you very much.
Oh, I do have one more thing to plug.
Yes.
3 weeks from yesterday, I am joining our friends over at Top Down Tabletop for a brand new D&D campaign. It'll be Tuesdays at 7:30 Central. It's called Embers and Arcanum, and it's a very political, intrigue-focused D&D game running the new 2024 rules.
And you can keep up on all of that by checking our Discord, our socials, and if somebody could plug Top Down. Keep track of all that shenanigans. Does anyone else have any other things they want to announce? No? Okay, then. Other than someone's, I know, playing a lot of No Man's Sky, but that's not really relevant to what we're doing, but...
Whose
All
sky
right,
is
then.
it then?
Everyone's. That's the implication. Now, without further ado, let's tell a vampire story. Last time on Savannah by Night. Artem spent the first portion of his evening resuming the comprehensive renovation of the Seneschal's aging, weather-beaten home. But questions soon turned towards the nature of the car he's been trusted with, as Chris had let slip that it once belonged to someone important to Alden. However, Artem opted not to inquire about its previous owner. Instead, he asked what the elder Gangrel knew of his sire, Zoya, the old woman of the woods. Alden didn't reveal too much beyond what was already known, seemingly confirming that she is indeed a force of nature unto herself, and far, far older than even the institution of the Camarilla itself. Cora began her evening with preparing the prospect that this would finally be her last night at the cottage, and had packed her things for that eventuality. She played text tag with several individuals, some light, some complicated. What set the tone for her evening was a text from Ellie, asking if they could meet up. Agreeing, they both set off for Wormsloe. Before Ellie managed to arrive, Cora spent some time exploring the quieter space of Elysium so early in the evening and proceeded to engage in some risky behavior. While it is considered a high crime to employ a discipline within Elysium, it is, however, quite difficult to prove usage of the more subtle skills. In this instance, Cora had attempted a broader read of the auras of everyone within the main hall of the building. Some results she expected, others only raised more questions. Ellie, on the other hand, experienced a small, unintended speed bump of bringing a weapon up to the gates of Wormsloe. However, they were smart enough to announce that fact and promptly had it temporarily confiscated, the van inspected, but otherwise sent on their way. From there, the two neonates met up at the house proper, where they began to conjure up how to improve Ellie's ramshackle wreck, and left the grounds to attempt to fulfill the more immediately achievable goals. Though, Cora was put on a timetable to return for an entirely different meeting. Kate began her evening with a quick meal as someone she's begun to think of as part of her herd. Any awareness of Kate's own inability to engage in a conventional meal was swiftly allayed by a careful application of Dominate, a kindred discipline for exerting one's will over the mind of another. Though the rigors of such activities served as a reminder that she needs to expand that tasty Rolodex, or risk doing real, lasting harm to her recurring dinner date. With that sorted for the evening, she returned to more training at Veritas Security. First, the droning monotony of the classroom environment, procedure and protocol, which, despite the dryness of the subject matter, Kate easily internalized and filed away for later use. Her next task was resuming firearms training at the company range. While Rook was not there to continue guiding her, he managed to put at least some of his lessons to use, as she seemed to finally at least make something click. With that sorted for the evening, Miss Fulton left for the night to do as all proper ventures do. Head to Elysium to network, listen, and learn. But before we pick up with Elysium proper, we're going to catch up our errand to Nosferatu. You need to mark off a point of blood, as you would have been starting off a new night. What's your hunger at right now?
This is the blood pool, right?
Yep. How far down are you from maximum?
I am 3 points down.
Okay. Nothing to be entirely concerned about, but if you are going to be using blood tonight, you may want to think about how you're going to replenish.
Tabby will... I forget where she's waking up.
She'd be
She's still in
waking
the
up at the Warrens.
Warrens, okay.
So she's at her own modestly appointed hovel, though it is an actual room with a door. It's very Spartan, as there's nothing really in it except for a rather bare bones cot. But for all intents and purposes, this is her space. It's even locked if she wants it to be.
I think she would. Enjoying the amenity that she has not had for a fair portion.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking about food. She knows that there's usually some rats in the sewer. She does remember eating fairly well and fairly simply at the overpass, but how far was that?
Mhm.
And she had been driven.
You needed a car to get there.
Yeah. So she will probably head towards the sewer, just since that tends to be a more accessible and immediate
Mm-hmm.
space to go.
Now, do you have animalism?
I do not.
Okay.
I am inoffensive to them.
Hmm. Yeah, that is a merit. Okay. You're still going to require... Because this is hunting. You're not sort of using the power of being a Disney princess to lure animals to you. You have to chase them down, and by hand. Okay. Do you have anything in survival or animal, Ken?
Survival, yes.
Okay. So, are you just trying to chase them, or are you trying to corral them into some sort of trap? Not necessarily something you've made, you're not using snares, but are you trying to just outsmart them rather
I
than
think
outrun them?
outsmart. There are a lot more avenues for them to flee from, and regardless of how fast she may be, it's less like, oh, I see them, therefore I've caught them. So she will try and corral and catch.
Okay, so you are going to do intelligence and survival. These sewers are unfamiliar to you. We're going to do at a difficulty of 7.
Ooh. I got 2 10s, but then 1 10 turned into a 1, so I think that is
You got 1 success.
1 success.
Okay. It takes far longer than you want it to. This becomes what should have been maybe a 15 to 20 minute exercise back home has turned into the first 2 hours of your evening. You've had to forage for blood. I will allow you to get back over par. So you will get 2 out of this. So you averaged 1 an hour.
Cool.
If you want to do more, you're going to have to do it again.
Nah, she's fine.
Add a higher difficulty. But after you've run yourself a little ragged, you are left alone in the sewers. Are you wandering back towards the Warrens, or are you going to wander
She's
up top?
wandering outward.
Outward. Okay. Where?
She has mostly been driven around so far.
Mm-hmm.
And has not really, while she did spend a night in the sewers, that was good for her, to spend the day. She's not done much footwork exploring.
Mm-hmm.
So I think she will try and find a manhole cover or manhole, exit it if it's safe, and try and explore the general area, attempting to memorize just paths that she's gone and ways that are accessible without getting someone to drive her.
So this is more of a up periscope. Are you getting out of the sewer or just sort of peeking your head out, doing a Kilroy was here type thing?
More of a periscope, but might try and like find street signs in particular and see if it's trying to have more of a mental map.
Okay. I'm trying to think how to best adjudicate this. I'm thinking intelligence and stealth. I'm just gonna do this as a 6.
One success.
Okay.
2 10s again, but a 1.
Well, at least you're consistent.
Yeah.
Hey, one success is better than nothing. It's maybe not as straightforward as you're hoping. Maybe you're too used to how the sewers were set up back in Kentucky, how they would line up with certain streets, major arteries. And for whatever reason, this is more counterintuitive than you expected. You are starting to map a little bit out, but it's slow going. It's not as a rapid progression as you would want it to be. You know a good access point from the top into the sewers and therefore to the Warrens. But that's 1. And for the sake of ease, it'll be more towards River Street because that's a more identifiable landmark. One that you know people go to, both in terms of the tourist aspect. And you would have picked up, I think, at this point that that's where some of your fellow neonates have spent some time. So it's good to know how to get there, or at least how to get back out. Maybe spend some more time. You can learn more of the access points in that immediate area so that you have a better understanding of that area. But that's where it's limited to for the time being. Cool. Beyond that, what are you doing? Are you heading back? Are you trying to venture out?
Tabby will try and venture out.
Okay. Keep in mind, touristy.
Yeah.
A lot more eyes, especially if you're going to go on River Street itself, which I don't recommend.
I
There
think she
are
will...
a few alleys that you could pop out of, but it is still a risky gamble.
I think she will try, with the mentality of realizing the kind of info that she has maintained of escape paths and out of the ways. She's going to try and walk along River Street from the street across, very, very slowly, more just in kind of navigating
Sorry,
among...
say that? You're...
From the parallel street.
Okay.
Just in trying to get an eye at the street from a distance. More thinking of more escape paths and the ways of leaving.
The problem with getting a parallel street to River Street is it's right against the river. So that whole northern section is just water. And then going slightly south of that is a few alleyways that all interconnect with different streets that are slightly higher. You'd have to basically find an alleyway to pop out of and then peer around, probably down a set of stairs or ramped cobblestone. But you'd be running a bit of a risk, and you'd want to consider high stealth and obfuscate.
The goal right now is definitely to just try and build the mental map. Does not want to be reckless, and a lot of that is inherently going into any of the populated areas. She doesn't even necessarily need to do that. So whatever would likely be the safest overt way, even if it's kind of shunning, even if it's shunning the main places that people go, just kind of walking along and maybe every so often trying to locate the same landmark or the same place.
So you want to be traveling under the sewers, pop your head up, look around, trying to like almost do like a visual ping.
Exactly.
Okay. So this will go back to your earlier rule of you were mapping out that area.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll you don't have to roll any further because that's what that was for. You're just going through all the rote actions of doing it and at least getting a local circumnavigation of the area. But again, localized pretty much to that chunk of River Street. If you want to get really good at this, you're going to have to spend more than one night. But you have the building blocks to at least have a starting point.
Tabby will check the group chat and see if there was any type of messages that she's missed of where people have been going.
I believe the group chat was... Oh, actually, here's a question. Did the all-girls group chat involve Tabby?
I think we decided to Tabby. Like, it was literally everyone but Artem.
Okay. So you would have seen the cake picture of a blurry Artem. Does Dreamy need a minute? I'm just going to say I win. So Tabby would have seen some of that back and forth, especially the ultra zoomed in, extra blurry, just Artem cake. Fully cropped in. Yep. From Chris.
I think the message said, heading to the big house, I'm bringing cake.
There we go. So what would you like to do with that?
I guess I'll head to the big house.
Now the question is, how are you getting there?
It is quite a way. Tabby will reach out to Elvie.
Elvie.
Or Ellie, sorry. Whoops. Hey, Ellie, have you already headed to the big house?
You would be
need a ride.
on the ride, on the drive from Wormsloe with Cora as you're heading into town to do your vehicular shopping.
Yeah. Going shopping with Cora. We'll be heading back to Wormsloe after, though.
And Wormsloe is the big house. Okay.
So you can say Wormsloe, you can say big house. You just should not say Elysium in an open format.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
Or a house where there are definitely
no
vampires.
pizza jokes.
Don't say that. So yeah, Ellie will say
not having a car sucks.
Ellie like turns to Cora as they're texting Tabby and going, I think Tabby's asking for a ride, but just isn't actually asking for a ride.
It's best to be direct about it.
Are you... Ellie text, are you asking for a ride?
Oh yeah, wait. How long is shopping?
I'll pin where we are. If you can get there, fine. Otherwise, I can pick you up.
Nope, thanks. How close am I to that pinged location?
We can deal with that in a minute. We're gonna slide over to Cora and Ellie.
So we're picking up another then.
I guess so. It's well, you can probably imagine it's tough when being one of the few people who actually drives.
I'm just glad this has more space than the last time I had to give Tabby a ride.
Really, what happened then?
Um, Look, I warned her against it, but I already had another passenger, so there was only so many places that she could go.
So we're talking either hood, trunk, or can't imagine the roof.
I I'm not going to carry anybody on the hood or the roof.
Wow, that must have been a little tight fit, I guess. So, yeah, that's part of the reason why I wanted a slightly bigger ride. I feel like everyone is going for the really sleek stuff nowadays.
Yes. Both for the
Sorry, no
purposes,
offense.
for sure.
You won the car, so that wasn't meant to be. Sorry.
No offense taken. So, a lot of these tire shops, they're not going to be open this late at night. But we can get a few things, and I think we did see one that might be, if the hours are right. On the unspecified search browser and map maker app.
So
Sure.
what I'll do for you here is we're not going to get into all the minutia of where you're shopping and what you get. We can haggle that off screen at some point. You're able to corral a few odds and ends. You're able to get tires. They're not going to be the, bulletproof Uber things that are going to last you forever, but they are decent.
Just keep some of the other options that we talked about as an idea for the future. So right now we're just trying to make sure that you don't get broken down somewhere.
That makes sense.
Now, here's a question for Cora. Would you have stressed getting a spare tire?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not going to go into all the costs and everything, but we're going to assume that based on Ellie's ability to blackmail people for one reason or means or another, they're able to get the currency required. You're able to get a few things, banter a little bit here and there. And as you are heading in a direction to pick up Tabby, is there any further conversation the two of you want to have?
I just
go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify on my end that Ellie is probably has their hood up for most of these interactions and is also using the mask to cover their more obvious features.
Mm-hmm. And for anything where it becomes a bit dicey, you have someone here that can talk on your behalf.
I was just about to say, Cora does offer, after seeing a few of those interactions happen, do you know if there's any moment when you feel like you need to wait in the car? I could take care of it.
Thank you. You probably also I imagine we'll actually know what you're talking about when you're shopping for something.
Well, it's good for you to see the whole process anyway, so you can do it for yourself the next time, so. Which, by the way, I don't remember if we covered this the last time we met or the time before, but what do you do for work to be able to afford the upgrades?
Intelligence.
Huh. Okay. So like the FBI or Interpol or something.
I have much better skills than they do.
Really?
Well,
I want you to roll manipulation and subterfuge versus Cora perception empathy. Both can be 6, and it's just about how many
Okay.
successes you get.
Here we go. Perception.
manipulation and subterfuge. Does mine go up since I don't have subterfuge?
Yes.
Okay, so it's 7 that I have to hit.
Well, actually, is it because you're trying to sell your skills, or you actually believe that about yourself?
Oh.
How much of this is you selling a service versus you selling a lie to yourself?
Okay. The lie. I would say Ellie does think that they are better than most hackers around, including ones that would work for an intelligence agency.
Mhm. Okay, so in lieu of subterfuge, what would you... Because Ellie's not
I've
really a
totally
people person.
misinterpreted drive. Because I was thinking like passion drive, but that's just actually regular driving.
You have expression?
No.
Okay. Streetwise.
2. I have 2 in Streetwise.
Okay. I'm going to let you roll with Streetwise, but you're going to do it at a higher difficulty.
What's the
Okay.
matter? Worried about my people skills?
So I'll let you use manipulation and Streetwise
Okay.
to make it sound like you know what you're talking about. But Cora's been around before. She's heard people puff their chest up.
Especially in my line of work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing 7.
Mm-hmm.
Right. 2, 3.
Because this is an off-brand use of that skill.
That there. Four successes. No ones.
Wow, very nice. I got 3 successes, so I believe you. So it seems like I had a 10, but it was canceled by a 1. So and 3.
While you believe them, you believe that there's something else in the background of it.
I'm impressed. So, how'd you come about this? Is that what you did before, or you don't have to say? but it does make
You
me
mean
curious.
You mean before my I changed careers?
Right. I mean, I can't expect that you work for one of them now.
Yeah, I mean, it was more I've always been a little bit interested in a good mystery. So kind of got a little bit too much into various deep dives here and there. And yeah, I've always been interested in solving said mysteries.
So a bit more freelance, like you listen to the cold case podcasts.
Oh yeah. That's kind of they they definitely inspired me if not actually getting being able to solve those cases themselves.
And so, are there like information bounties or something that then you can collect on? I imagine. uh,
Yeah. People will people will pay for anything to find out something about someone or to well keep someone from finding out about something.
hmm. So most of your work within the family.
I'm a little more freelance in that way. I have connections, and that's all we will say on that matter.
I figured Cora picks up that that's probably where the conversation's going to end.
I'd say you have a few more minutes of that conversation awkwardly trailing off before you arrive at where you dropped a pin for Tabby.
Do we have power windows or are they like roll down?
I'd say on this van, this is very much roll down windows.
Okay, well, in that case. um, I look out into the darkness. I don't know if I see Tabby or not.
Well, the question is, would you have left the back door of the van open?
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
I guess it
door.
probably doesn't have remote locks either.
Yeah.
We'd have to go in.
Yeah.
Okay. You would recognize the van pulling up. You would know, Tabby, that riding up front probably isn't the best for you. And you have to get in the back anyways. But you, as you see a window roll down, clearly looking out for you, you can hop into the back of the van. It's a little bit of a tight fit because they've picked up a bunch of things.
Thank you.
Okay. There actually still isn't room. You have to go in the trunk still. 'Cause...
I would, but I had guns pointed at me last time I did that.
No. I'm joking. I wouldn't. I'm not actually gonna make you do that. Here, let me make a little bit of space so you can actually fit in there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And that
Yeah?
was a joke on the both of us, so.
Oh,
See, I'm funny.
But I'd say buckle up, but
tie something around me, but it's not. Then I'd have to tie it off to something else in the car. I don't think that's an option.
Well,
just
feel-
don't let anything tip over on you.
I feel like bungee cords either were already in there or had to be picked up as part of the process.
Absolutely, you gotta have bungee cords.
Of course.
Do you have any spare ones?
While the three of you
Cora's
are
gonna start
figuring this
driving.
out, yeah, You can start heading towards Wormsloe. Do the three of you have any conversation you'd like to make?
So, what's bringing you to the big house, Tabby?
Seemed like the place to be. I've been trying to start little goals already, but I've not had to do that for a while. So I don't have like the whole Machiavellian plot going yet. I don't know the good steps for that. Kind of wandering around without a car.
And you aspire to be a Machiavelli, huh?
I never read The Prince.
But you know of it.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to keep my eyes open for you then. It sounds like maybe I wouldn't want to cross you.
Yeah. Bad move. I crash cars.
So, Cora, do you have I guess, any advice for Tabby on being Machiavelli?
Me? No.
What were y'all heading to the big house for?
Well, that was the meetup, so Cora could help me get some new parts for the car, and then going back to drop Cora off, and then see what I want to do from there.
Cool. Mind if I tag
do-
along?
Oh, sure.
Also, and pulls out her phone. I mean, it seemed like an important place to go. Showing the picture.
Is that
I think it is.
and like while driving, like like Ellie, like with your permission, Tabby, like takes the phone.
Yeah.
And just looks at it and is staring at the phone, but also is noting who is all in the group chat.
You're a techie. Is that edited? Is that photoshopped?
Hold on, let me just see for a little bit.
What are you trying to accomplish here? You're taking
No, I think
pixel peeping in an unintended direction, I think.
Yeah, no, it's but they just go, it's I don't think it's photoshopped. And just hands the phone back to you.
How can I be anywhere else tonight?
All right.
If there's nothing further to add, we're going to fade out of that. Or I guess blur out of that. If Artem and Kate are feeling able, we fade back in at Elysium proper on the property of Wormsloe on the southern half of the Isle of Hope. The parking lot is not brimming, but it's not a ghost town either. It does seem like people are filtering in, but people have gotten there a little before you. It doesn't seem to have the same pomp and circumstance as when you first arrived. For Kate especially, this seems like the average. Elysium is always open. We'll see who filters in and out during the night. court is an ongoing thing rather than a weekly or monthly institution. You know that probably better than anyone here, by a wide margin. So while there are pockets of activity, some conversations, some you know is going to be gossip and rumor and wheeling, dealing, horse trading. Some of it is completely and utterly mundane. The water cooler conversations, such as they are. In many ways, this is your element. But what do you want to do now that you're here?
I want to take a lap and see if there's anyone I know.
You'd find the keeper rather quickly. You would find... Let's go to my list, because it is expansive tonight.
Did I recognize any vehicles out in the parking lot? Or the parking area?
You recognize some of the Range Rovers that you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the impression that's fairly ubiquitous in terms of staffing. You do see some pickup trucks, some fancier, sleeker cars. It is a bit of a gamut.
Did I see the truck? Because I think we were told last time about 2 individuals that were there, but I don't know if Kate knew that.
We're going to say you see the truck.
Okay.
And for Artem, because you've also gotten a pretty good look at it yourself, you would have recognized that as well. If you were to do any rounds to the other side of the house on the exterior facing the water, do either of you do that? Or do you just go from the parking lot into the house?
Yeah, Artem might do a circuit outside before going in. It's just
Kate,
the kind of guy he is.
Kate, do you join him or do you go straight into the house?
No, I'll take a lap on the outside.
Okay. You see 1 or 2 boats. You don't know if they are always there. Artem, you don't recognize a boat that maybe you would expect to see.
You said Alden has a truck, right? He drove off in his truck? Yeah, okay, so that would make sense.
And he would have left before you did. And you do see it in that parking lot. But all you see is mostly calm waters. Broken up by the din of a small boat with an outboard motor coasting up to the dock, being moored, and a familiar spiky, dirty blonde-haired man with permanently snarling features walks past both of you.
The Scourge.
And he does that thing that only reptiles and birds do, where there's this head snap in one direction, a gradual step. As he sees both of you, clocks both, and then keeps walking right past.
Artem will give him a nod.
He doesn't nod back so much as not quite a snarl, not quite a growl, but this animalistic sound. You're not quite sure where it's coming from. If it's erupting through the teeth or simply rumbling in the chest, in the throat. But he otherwise pays no attention. That hidden chestal snarl seems to be the only acknowledgement.
Is Chris with us, or did she head inside the house?
Oh, she's inside the house.
Okay.
So, do you head on in?
Yeah.
Do you follow him in, or do you take a different door?
Follow him in.
Yeah, if it's the most direct route, like,
Mm-hmm.
we're not on his radar, and that's a good thing.
You see he's padding by barefoot, weathered jeans. Clearly someone who's used to being quite rustic. He heads in. He doesn't hold the door, but he doesn't slam it. He's just walking ahead. As you walk in, you're used to heading in from a different direction, but you are finding the same level of activity, pockets of conversation. You would see the prince on his chair, but it's not a loud courtly procession. It's smaller conversations. No formal lineup, just whoever filters in and out. It doesn't necessarily look like business, per se. Doesn't necessarily look like courtly petition. Looks like conversation for the most part. And he is not dressed in finery. It seems more like a casual, almost tweed with leather patches on the elbows. Less teacherly and more someone that does regular hunting over a sweater. And something you may have noticed, doesn't seem to cut that particular high frock Ventru image that you might be accustomed to. As for people you might recognize...
Does Maplethorpe head up to the prince, or is he just...
He's milling through.
Okay.
As for who you would see, I have to go through my expansive list for this tonight because it's a lot. Next to the prince, you would see the man from the other night. One that stayed close to him at the rebuilding effort. Dressed much the same as he was. Not 5 feet away from him, but not 50. He's staying in a relatively close by orbit without getting in the way. And he seems to be talking with Jean Corwin. For Artem, you would see Alden talking to a porcelain-skinned woman with red hair. You would both see the keeper talking with a older man with silvery white hair and a beard, and a young woman in tow. You would see Mr. Innsbruck talking with a woman with a lace choker and unnaturally red hair. Like someone took an eyedropper tool in Photoshop and went to the most unnatural red possible. You would see Chris, Lewis, and Harlan talking somewhere in a corner. But that's among a sea of people you don't really know and have no context for. So again, while this is not the pomp and circumstance of a full court event, this is the start of at least a night at court. So what would you like to do?
So Artem would like to see if Mr. Limehouse is present.
Ah. Let me look at my list. You do see him talking to 2 individuals, but you do have to go hunting for him if that's what your intent is. Are you splitting up or are you staying together?
I think we'll split up.
Okay. So for Artem, you'd have to go and find him in one of the offshoot parlors. Your first night, when Tabby had to give her introduction, there was a gentleman that was called forth by Alden when he yelled out, "Teague." This is one of the gentlemen that is talking with Samuel Limehouse. The other you do not recognize.
If it seems appropriate, I'll go in for a handshake, but if it seems like they're in a deeper conversation, then I'll just note them and then maybe go see who else is around.
They're in conversation, but it doesn't look like a tight huddle. It doesn't look like it's private. You can't quite make out exactly what they're saying. And it doesn't look animated. It doesn't look hushed. It looks more casual. Or at least that's the tone you're getting. So, not the worst bet to go up and say hello.
Yeah.
Now, considering that Bruce had mentioned that this was his boss, how do you address him? You just go, Mr. Limehouse? Do you put anything else on that?
Yeah, Art doesn't know a lot of honorifics aside from that, so he'd probably just say, Mr. Limehouse?
Artem, was it?
Yes, sir.
He's going to reach out for your hand. He's going to look at the one you don't recognize. Longer hair, muscular build, beardy. The way that you could really describe him as sort of much like you, a modern day Sasquatch. Limbs maybe just slightly longer than they ought to be. Ah, right. Hank, this is the one I was telling you about. Alden's new live-in.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, Hank Porter. I don't know if you Met Mr. Teague over here.
Not officially.
All right, please. Robbie, Teague, whichever one floats your fancy. Hank will continue. How are you finding life here so far?
Seems pretty nice. It wasn't what I was expecting, but...
That's when Limehouse leans in. What were you expecting?
Georgia the country, actually.
You see this wave of people who are trying hard not to smile, smirk, and it's Hank that does start to laugh first. But it doesn't seem cruel. It's like he's putting the accent together. Oh. Well, how the hell did that happen?
It's a long story, honestly, but... I mean, he kind of looks around. It seems to have worked out all right. So far.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Martel. During your introduction, did you mention you were supposed to be here with someone else? You had mentioned it to Misha. Did you say it to the prince?
I think Alden caught that I had said we, and he got it out of me. So
okay.
Probably, if you're paying attention, yeah, they would know that.
Limehouse will add. Except for the fact that you were supposed to be here with someone, weren't you?
Yes. We're working through that too.
Well, if there's any way that I can help expedite that process. I know guys in a lot of ports. Maybe we can see what we can do for each other.
I appreciate that.
Is there anything you want to ask them, or?
Yeah, I kind of want to ask, like, because Limehouse said that he ran a lot of the unions.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like there are other people that would run, you know, the businesses that the unions would be organizing against. So I want to... I'm trying to think of the most polite way to ask, like, is that a conflict of interest, or are we just all on the same team there? Like, how does that work? May not make that to there quite tonight, but ultimately that's where I want to go with this
Okay, so how do you want to
conversation.
actually ask him that, though?
Yeah. So I'll say something along the lines of, you said you were in charge of a lot of the unions around here? Is that right?
In charge, involved, influence.
How does all that work?
A lot of speechifying. A lot of ground pounding. Bit of chest thumping. Sometimes a bit of face hitting. Depends on the day, depends on who.
Got a background in labor, so...
Yeah, I caught that last night. Seemed to know what you were doing, at least. how to take direction. Self-starter. All good qualities.
Tools are a little more advanced than I'm used to, but
Well, if you know how to make do with sticks and rocks, imagine what you can do when you actually know what the tools do.
right.
We can get you trained up if there's something you're looking to start in.
Looks like that would be awesome.
What are you looking to work in?
Houses have been good for me so far. Continuing on with that would probably be where I'd start. And then if I wanted to try something new, I guess we'd see what there was an opportunity to do.
General contract work. Well, you'd never starve working in a place hit by so many storms.
Yeah, caught that.
However, easy to take advantage of people in that situation.
Don't need much.
That's what most people say when they're starting out, and then they get a taste for it. Get a hold of me in a day or two, and we can find you some place to start.
Sure. Thanks.
Whatever makes the whole stronger. I have a few other conversations I gotta go have. Enjoy your night. And he'll filter out, but he doesn't try and push you out if you want to stay there talking to them. Would you like to sort of fade out on that just a little bit?
I will say he does stay talking to them, but we can totally fade out. That's fine.
Okay. What you pick up on pretty quick is Teague in particular is I have to look at my notes now because it's been a minute. That he is one of yours. That the reason why he travels around as much as he does. He doesn't like to stick around in one place for too long. Goes from city to city, court to court, picking up little bits. Now, while his news may not be pertinent to you, it is something he does pick up on.
Really cool.
But while you have these little conversations and minor revelations, we're going to pan back over to Kate. You are basking in the civilized concept of society, finally. What are you doing with that?
I'll see if I can catch the attention of either Corin or Innsbruck. But if neither one of them make eye contact, I will head to Innsbruck.
Corwin seems engrossed at the moment.
And who was she specifically talking to?
She's speaking to the man that accompanied the prince the other night. Among a few other individuals that are filtering around, but it does seem more business. Like there's less joviality to it.
Mm-hmm.
Everything sort of seems to be functional and utilitarian. Everything is serving a purpose.
What about Innsbruck and the redheaded woman?
It's slightly cloistered off in the sense that she is leaning back against a pillar. She's holding a wine glass, but it is not wine that fills it. He has no such glass. And, oh, because I love the imagery of this, he is doing the anime forearm lean against the pillar, but in a way that she seems to be rather taken with it. It's that sort of smile that reaches over the rim of the glass from the eyes.
Mm-hmm. Well, in that case, let me scan over.
You go lean on the other side, or
I'll give that conversation a minute to do whatever it's gonna do, lest I be known as the cockblock of Elysium.
Wouldn't want to put that on a business card.
Oh man. What are some of these other pairings that you specifically pointed out? Like,
Okay.
I feel like my fallback is going to be Chris Lewis and Harlan, but
okay. You
I guess I would like
recognize-
take the long way to them
Okay.
if everyone else is caught up in these conversations and there's no one to like get drawn into besides them.
Mm-hmm. Ah, okay. You do see Redgrave talking with another mob of ladies that you may or may not recognize. One of them would be Ava Lash. And a few others that you don't pick up on immediately. But they're all very well dressed, nice heels, all perfectly poised. And you get Mean Girls energy. Is the only way I can put it. Like in Elysium, we wear pink, except they're not wearing pink.
Oh, I kind of like that vibe though.
Mm-hmm. But it has a bit of a standoffishness to it.
Okay. I can't Katie hearing my way in. Got it.
I'm not saying you can't try. I'm just saying it's an uphill battle. And you are not dressed to the nines in the way that they are.
Yeah. I did put the heels on, but no, not in the same way.
Yeah. Because you just came back from
work.
Yeah, like a classroom setting, a firing range, and then you put on heels to dress that differently.
Yeah.
So you don't sartorially match the vibe at the moment. Not to say that you can't try. There is... Let me look at my list, because I had a few things written specifically for you. You do see, well, 3 blondes. One, a male in a suit. A nice suit. The silk black tie. But his hair is spiked up. Stylishly so. Elementally smug is the only way I can really describe him.
I know which picture you're talking about. Yeah.
There is a blonde that you don't recognize unless you were paying a lot of attention at the racetrack.
This a blonde woman, the second person?
Yes. She's wearing a more... I wouldn't say forward dress, but one that is hugging and displaying in all the right ways while still staying within higher society function. It's got a little bit of that classic era bodycon. Like Like maybe there's a built-in cincher that's very well hidden. Next to her, though, in a more modest in terms of how much it's showing, but still its own display of a almost ankle-length sweater dress, like turtleneck sweater dress. But this blonde you recognize.
Is it Belle?
It is Belle. There appears to be a conversation going on. It doesn't look... It's hard to gauge what the vibe is there. There's more just a few fleeting looks back and forth, a few exchanged words. Well, whatever it is rapid.
Did you say rapid or rabid?
Rapid. Whatever is being conveyed is happening very quickly, almost as if there's a bit of an understood shorthand. Clearly, these are people that communicate very regularly and efficiently, which is a good trick considering you've caught a few oddities with the way Belle speaks.
Mm-hmm.
Do you approach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll follow up with Belle after the phone disaster.
Okay. As you do get a little bit closer, I'm assuming you're not making a beeline, you're sort of
No,
navigating
mingling.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way they'll put this is that for every named NPC, there's 3 or 4 unnamed paper cutout anime silhouettes that just fill up the room.
Mm-hmm.
So you filter through the unnamed NPCs. Belle looks over and sees you, smiles, and actually gives you a little dainty wave. She speaks to the other two in a way that seems like she's excusing herself before she sidles out. And she sort of wafts in your direction. She takes a look up and down. But it's not like someone examining a future meal like you have probably gotten used to doing yourself. It's more this ethereal analysis is the only way I could really put it. She lingers on the heels for a moment. After doing the top pass, then the heels again, just... Oh, you took the job.
Which job are you referring to?
Oh, I did it again.
Oh,
Sorry.
it's all right. It's all right.
I think I can still smell the powder.
Ah, yes, I did take a job with Veritas.
How is it?
It's training and orientation so far, but
The boring stuff, then.
it's all right. It's a foot in the door.
With those shoes.
Well, you know you have to be ready for any occasion. Though no, these are not the workplace shoes. Rook already scolded me for having the wrong ones the other night.
That sounds like Rook.
Is he all work, no play?
She leans in. It's a little more conspiratorial than maybe you were expecting, goes, most of you are.
It's a family trait then.
But it doesn't have to be.
How's the new phone treating you? Promise I'm not going to step on it this time.
At that, you actually do get an unexpected laugh. Like, she was surprised that you would go with a too soon joke. Like, uh, apparently, you can have fun. It's not just all work. But stay away from my phone.
Promise.
Have you been able to see more of the city since, or have you been locked into work?
I've been out a bit. Got to eat after all. We can't have gosh, how do I phrase this? Catered meals as easily or at all.
Her shoulders slightly sag as her head cants to the side, and there is this brief glance towards the blonde-haired man in the suit, as she then tries to correct and put her attention back on you.
I'll let my eyes follow where she's looking.
Mm. She'll lean in again, and she'll, without using her fingers to point, she'll sort of tilt her head in a few directions. Some of the refreshments are arranged by Sebastian over there.
Hmm.
But for you, that might be exposing yourself too much.
A little too personal.
And she stresses the word exposing.
In what kind of way? Like, what would I pick up on?
Over her shoulder, you would see the other blonde woman and her rather showy dress.
Mm-hmm.
You would maybe pick up on the fact that despite how much Belle is covered, it's still a very clingy turtleneck dress.
Mm-hmm.
Despite how much it covers, it leaves nothing to the imagination.
Mm-hmm.
Exposed. Now, that being said, exactly what she means is still lost.
Mm-hmm. I've seen her in a rather particular outfit when I gave her the phone the other night. Would I get the vibe that asking what she does for work might be too much? Like, would it be appropriate?
You also saw that both, if you saw her and the other woman there, they were both in sort of that racer queen, shorty kind of outfit
Mm-hmm.
at the track.
Mm-hmm. And then when I gave her the phone, she was in just like a trench coat and
Just
heels.
a trench coat. She's not wearing the same heels, but still very dainty heels.
Mm-hmm.
But it's up to you if you want to ask that question or not.
Well, you know what I do for work here. Would it be all right to ask what your line of work is?
At that point, from below the waistline, you see her pull up that glass of not wine.
Mm-hmm.
And she takes a very slow sip. Modeling, dancing.
Oh, right. You prefer jobs where you don't have to talk because of.
And The way you see her fingers curl around the stem of the glass and her shoulders didn't quite recover from that sag. In her other hand, she takes out the phone and she's going to ping you. It's like, I need a minute.
All right.
And she walks back out through the crowd. But she walks right by the other two blonde people who... He briefly looks over his shoulder in such a way that you see the back of his head as he's watching her go out. And you see the other blonde woman kind of give a bit of a smirk. But she doesn't look anywhere in particular. But it never reaches the eyes. At this point, I would like both Artem and Kate to roll perception alertness at 8. I'm going to say this now. Botching cannot affect the outcome because there's no way this works that way.
What was the DC?
8.
Okay.
8 for Kate.
8 for Kate.
That is 4 successes, because when you re-roll a 10 and you get a 10, you can't re-roll it again, correct?
Unless you have a specialty.
Okay, it's 4 successes then.
Got 4 successes on a difficulty 8.
Mhm.
No ones.
No ones.
How many dice were you rolling?
4.
Damn.
I rolled 2 9s and a 10, and then I rolled a 10 on the 10. And I'm built for court, y'all.
Notice Lila's
That
not
was
here.
incredible.
Chris is also not here. She's somewhere else.
She's in the room. What was that, Art?
3.
3. Man, this would be really bad if I told you that the opposing roll was much higher. But the two of you spot somewhere over the balcony that oversees the main hall of court Valeria Vega. The first time you saw her at court was after she'd already killed someone. The last time I believe you saw her, you never knew she was in the same bar until she was leaving. And here she is, the watchful eye over the court of Savannah. And I think that's a good time to take a quick break. See you soon. Welcome back to Savannah by Night. We're picking up at Elysium, where 2 of our neonates have been milling around, and they've spotted the sheriff. But what they don't know is that the sheriff had spotted them long before. And as they finally notice her, she looks down at them from different parts of the room, and she just holds up a little glass, a little nod.
Just give her a little nod back.
And she filters back into the sea of paper cutout NPCs hidden among the crowd, realizing that you were lucky to spot her, but not lucky enough to see her before she already saw you. But surely She wouldn't do anything in Elysium.
You don't have to worry if you haven't done anything.
Now, as you two are milling around in your different directions, with Kate, you've just had your conversation partner excuse herself. Artem, you eventually leave that parlor and you start wandering around. You're not gravitating towards each other, but you're just starting to mill around the growing crowd as it has begun to intensify a little bit. Just in terms of number of people, not in terms of activity. There's no formality or pomp and circumstance to the evening. But at this point, our other three finally wander in. But before we get to that, I just want to do one quick check. As you pull up to the gate of Wormsloe, do you announce the entirety of your party? Or do you make a bit of a kerfuffle at the gate?
I don't see a reason to make a kerfuffle.
Mm-hmm.
I announce everyone that's in our car.
Mm-hmm. Julia still has your weapon because you said you were going to be coming back.
Yep.
So there wouldn't be any further need to inspect anything, except for the fact that they absolutely do. You have to earn that trust back now. And because you say Tabby is in the back,
Gonna be the second
that's
time
two
that
strikes.
I've been in the car where
Yeah.
Tabby has been sitting in not a actual passenger seat.
It's
But you're waved in. They just look around. They don't see anything different on the fact that you have all your car accessories. They do move a few things aside, just making sure that you didn't fuck around, bring something else in that you shouldn't have. But you get the nod, the wave, and you're sent on your way. Assuming you don't
again?
say that again.
So sorry, did I get in trouble again?
There is no trouble.
technically no.
I'm not hiding anywhere. Sorry, carry on.
Mm-hmm. You get up to the house, and this time there's a lot more cars.
Well, looks like we lost the parking space.
Sure does.
It's not filled, but you're going to have to hunt around for a space a little bit more.
Not that I have been here for much longer than everyone else. Would I be aware if this is the type of thing where it's just we happen to have a bit of a crowd, or does this feel like an event?
This is very common.
I would know that this is
very common.
Okay.
That it's when you showed up, there was no announcement, there was no expectation. It was just another night ending in Y.
Mm-hmm.
And you would know that there are a few scheduled Elysium events, like a specific, you have to be here, this is mandatory type thing. But you would know Court is more fluid and organic in that people flow in and out. Sometimes the prince is there, sometimes the seneschal is there, sometimes it's both. Sometimes it's more just a case of conversations are happening. Sometimes it's as simple as people are gathering for parlor conversation. Trading, trivia, or rumors. But there's nothing special. But when these sort of things happen, which is regular, it's always an opportunity. Either to advance your interests, to frustrate someone else's, or to cause problems for yourself if things don't quite go your way. And as you find a parking space eventually, you get to figure that out. Now, while the two of you, the two Nosferatu, don't have any standing meetings, Corey, you're getting close up to when you have one.
Well, it does seem like it's about time for me to get on to that other appointment that I mentioned. But this was good. I hope that you're able to put everything together.
Thanks. I'll let you know if everything goes well and or if everything breaks. I appreciate the help.
Yeah, happy to offer it.
And let me know if you need any other assistance. I owe you a favor.
Yeah,
So let
I'll
me
keep
know
that
if
in
I can
mind.
help.
Yeah, of course. And
See
happy
ya.
to see you. And she'll step out of the car and head inside to find Miss Holloway.
No, your text was to meet Lewis.
Ah,
It was
to
just
meet
from
Lewis.
Grace.
Okay, perfect.
But as the three of you pass through the front door, as always, there is Bruno. Do you give him grief or do you just give your hellos and pass through?
I have already messed around with him tonight. I'll just say hi. Oh, you know what? Ugh, I can't help myself. She'll speak English, though.
Mm-hmm.
Any interesting personalities come through tonight?
All of them.
Fair enough. Take care, Bruno.
To be fair, that's the most amount of words you've gotten out of him thus far.
It's true. I keep working on it. I'll go inside.
Just kind of a bow nod.
Hey, Bruno.
Mm.
As I'm walking by.
He's not the only guard you see walking the grounds near the door. He's certainly the most familiar, though, other than, well, I guess Julius for you. But head in, and you are immediately met with the din of a social scene. Amid the melodrama of manners that is the court. Now I will go through a few of individuals that you would all recognize rather than the others.
Yeah, Cora's definitely kind of, after she gets through the door, steps off to the side just to kind of get her bearings.
Okay, let me find my expansive list again. As before, you would see the prince, his chair, but not sitting in it this time, just inviting a few people onto the dais for the conversation or talking around it. It's more a case of people know to go in that direction for the most part. For Ellie and Tabby, and to an extent, Cora, you would recognize Edward, Lila, and Cora, you would recognize Edward. The other two would recognize Lila and Fitz. And talking with another individual, just in a little quattro huddle, of maybe people you wouldn't quite expect. One you know to be a Ventru, two Nosferatu. What could they possibly have in common? And who is the other individual? Except for the fact that Tabby would recognize the fourth person. Maybe not by name, but by face. Matthias. From the racetrack, he helped set up the little bet that you didn't quite win. Or that same squadron of mean girls would be recognized differently for Cora, as you would see Matilda Swafford and Grace Holloway, amongst a group of people you don't know.
Okay.
But similarly of one stature or another, they sort of orbit in and out of each other, sometimes pulling in a few others, sometimes others leaving for a period, but they seem to be mean girl strong at the moment. Let's see who else we have. You would all recognize the keeper, Atherton, talking with an elderly man with silvery gray hair, beard, and a young woman. You would see, well, Cora would recognize Costello, having a conversation with a blonde woman. But roll me perception empathy.
I can do this.
Just Cora.
Remind me, do we have to meet or surpass the DC to have it count?
It's a meet or beat.
In that case, I have 4 successes this time. Whoa, no, scratch that. I'm sorry, I have 5.
He looks uncomfortable.
Ah.
And you don't know why, because we don't do the D&D insight thing if you get the whole download. You catch the surface, a little bit of the body language. He looks like he's trying to twist out of the conversation. You don't know why.
How much time do I have? Does it seem like I would have time to go rescue him from this conversation?
That's up to you. Do you want to peel off from the trio?
Can I check the time on my phone? Do I feel like
I see.
I will be
You could do this on the way,
appointment
but
to Lewis punctually?
You would have to find a way to do this smoothly if you're going to do it that way.
Okay. All right, let's try it.
Okay.
So, Cora is going to stride up to this conversation, and say, wait, should she use first name or should she use last name? You go, Mr. Savini. I will say,
as you get up closer, you do recognize the girl from the grid. She's one of the grid girls at the racetrack.
Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. Well,
somehow wearing more clothes, but more scandalous despite that.
I'm going to stick to the plan because I know I don't have a lot of time. But I will acknowledge her too. and like be pleasant, smile, nod my head in her direction, and then go. Costello, sorry to interrupt. There was something you were asking me about the other night. I think I've resolved it.
Oh, right. Yes. I would love to hear some follow-up.
Okay, fantastic. I'm sorry. Could you give us just a quick moment?
Oh, do come back now. And he is offering his arm to you.
Yeah, sure, I'll take it. Let's
Yeah.
go.
It's not quite a power walk, but it's not leisurely.
Yeah.
And you get out of the main hall into a hallway. Thank you.
You're welcome. I sensed a bit of discomfort.
Yeah, she's a bit of a firecracker, that one.
Ah, so that's all it is, just a personality clash.
Let's go with that.
Listen, it would be great actually to talk a little more, but I have an appointment I have to meet.
Well, I feel like I owe you one now, so of course.
No worries. I'll see you later.
Yeah, I'm gonna go make myself scarce. And he is trying to find a different stairway. It's like he can't leave the building, but he can't stay where he was, and he can't be in sight, and he's just trying to find some way to do what he wishes he knew, the way Vega disappears into a crowd.
Yep, he and I are just like at an alcove. I'm like, well, I
Yeah.
got you this far. See ya.
See you on the other side, trooper.
So yeah, I will then carry on. I want to make sure that I'm punctual. Even though Lewis is Lewis, I am doing something for my boss now. So
Do you text Lewis to say, hey, I'm here, where are you? Or do you just try to find him?
You know, I suppose since she would go ahead and check the clock on her phone again, that would probably prompt her to go ahead and send a quick message. So she will say, hey, Lewis, I'm at the house, over on the, wherever we went, the east or west.
Yeah. I'd say like main foyer is probably where you went out to.
Over on the main foyer.
You get the three dots before they go away, and then he just appears. Like that was just the more expedient thing to do. Like, oh, hey.
Sorry, I wanted to meet you where you were, but there's a lot of people.
Okay. It's a lot tonight.
Yeah.
Listen, he points up the stairs as he starts to lead you up to one of the quieter spaces, and you find yourself in the library again.
Excellent.
And he takes out a unfastened envelope. It was, she wanted me to give you this.
Oh, all right. Do you know what it is?
You should look at it yourself.
She will take said envelope. I usually have one around here, but I don't, so I have no prop this time.
How dare you not be prepared for a prop that I didn't tell you about?
It's like, I know. Why am I not prescient? It's just.
You haven't been taking the spice. Get some nice blue tea for next time.
Yeah.
He gives you a couple of moments, and he walks over to where Lump is seated. He looks down at the board and starts making a move or two.
These are big, sturdy bookshelves, right? Like if I lean against one, it won't knock
you'll be
everything
fine.
over. Okay, well then I'll do that.
Yeah, you won't cause a Mr. Bean scene or anything like that.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll lean against the shelf and...
The way that I would put it is that these shelves are as stately and as immovable as the moss-covered elms outside.
Fantastic.
So as you lean against this and you start taking things out, you find paperwork.
Okay.
Now, your brain might go immediately to automotive paperwork because that's what you're used to seeing. You know that this is some sort of transference of property.
Right.
But this is property, not a car. This has an address attached to it.
Oh.
And as you... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you first.
And as you start taking the paperwork out, you leave room for a bit of a jangling inside the envelope. The sound of keys.
She'll withdraw the key too while still looking down at the paper.
It has the usual legalese of this has been transferred to this name on this date. And the address of the property, what is included in that, unfurnished, all that kind of thing. And describe what it is, where it is.
Does it require any signature on her end? And does it use our names, or is it like pseudonyms? Just out of curiosity for how we do this on this side of the veil.
It is the same name that is on the ID that was made for you by Edward.
Okay.
Which is your true legal name. Because that's how we're going to do this for the sake of my mental health. If I got to keep track of your official aliases, I'm done.
I'm new anyway, so
yeah,
it works out.
So it's in your name. All that's left is to go and check on that. But after you've had a few minutes, do you want to have a couple of moments to say what you're feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, she does what I did, you know. She sort of laughs and smiles a bit and stares at the paper. And feels the key in her hand. All right, then. This is, I think we're getting somewhere. And she will look up and say that as she kind of looks to the board of Lump's favorite game and Lewis sitting there.
As you shift from your perch, it draws Lewis's attention. And he sees that you're, I'll take the liberty and say happy?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a little bit of a soft smile. It's forced in that way of someone who, you know, kind of has a rough go of it, but he's happy when he sees somebody else having a better day.
Yeah.
Lump, their face doesn't quite express anything. They just give a little awkward wave.
I'll wave back. I'll fold up the paper and put it back. Pocket the key. And then approach. It feels nice to feel like I'm starting to find my base here, you know.
Yeah, I get that. That was all from me. I didn't have any task or orders to relay or anything like that.
Did you help find it, or
Sort of. Narrowed down some options.
Thank you. And I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's fantastic.
It's nothing to write home about, but it's a place to start.
Lewis, I'm sure you can tell, but in these days I feel like I get emotional easily, and this is really nice.
Yeah. Glad something's working out then.
What about you? How's your night going? The last few days, I haven't seen you in a while.
Bit of odd job stuff. Was at a community rebuild thing.
Oh, well, that sounds nice and positive.
Got me out of the house at least.
Good. Lump, what about you? Things are well here?
They kind of reach up to scratch at their temple a little bit. I forget, did you trade numbers?
I don't recall. Let me look. No, I think
know-
we've just seen each
okay.
other. I just looked at my phone book. I don't
Okay.
have.
I'm so glad people are doing that. For a moment, they were going to take out their phone to text you a thought, and they realized they don't have. I'm not even sure that they had a proper introduction to you yet.
No, well, Harlan introduced me to Lump when we came in here and chatted in the
Or Costello.
It was Costello.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then
Poppy was the one that
Poppy
played the
was
game.
here.
Okay.
And so she ended up having the more substantial interaction with
Mhm.
Lump.
Lump.
And then I did see them just
Mhm.
for a moment too on my own when I first wandered in here.
Lump's unchanging, potentially uncomprehending face sort of goes back and forth between you and Lewis, the board, and doesn't really seem to know how to communicate beyond that. And they move a few pieces on the board and then sort of broadly gesture at it. And then they take out a little booklet, one that you actually recognize.
Okay.
And when they show you the cover, it's just crosswords.
Nice. And good. I'm glad you've been keeping mentally stimulated.
And they take the book and they rapidly flip through the pages until they're holding one misshapen thumb over a filled-in clue. And awkwardly sort of bend the page so that you can see what word they're pointing at as they're pointing out and sort of down.
Okay.
And the word just says noisy.
Yes. Downstairs or me? Yeah, it is.
They seem to not know how to continue a conversation, and they just go back to setting up the board for themselves.
You take care. Lewis, since you already know, if you ever want to stop by, of course.
Yeah. I'd like that.
Great. We'll count on it then.
I think I'm gonna join Lump for a little bit.
I think that sounds like a good plan. I'll get back out among things. Chess is really not a 3-person activity, so...
You actually see Lewis ponder that for a moment. Oh, I'll have to send you a video.
Huh. All right.
There is a way. It's weird. And as you filter out of there, we're going to bring the camera over to Tabby. This is not your scene. Every time you've been to a massive court interaction, both in your preludes and since this game has started, it's gone real badly. Not necessarily for you, but just broadly speaking. It goes bad for somebody, and you happen to be, well, relatively close to the splash zone, if not in it. How are you dealing with that in your head as you walk around these rather pristine proceedings?
She's feeling a little opposite of nostalgic. The life that she lived before becoming a vampire were just the generally when she was a have-not, and just the way that she was not welcome, didn't have a place in most settings. It is resonating with that, where she feels unaccomplished and aimless as she's kind of wandering.
Okay.
So she's looking for familiar faces, which she does recognize Matthias and some of the others, but kind of cringes away from them before eyes can be thoroughly locked. I
would say, out of that quattro, you were the only one out of the three of you that would recognize all four.
Which were the other three besides Matthias?
So you know who Edward is. You know what he does for the kindred of the county. You know who Lila is. You know who Fitz is. And you know who Matthias is, or at least what he was doing at the racetrack. You're the only one out of everyone here that can name all four and put faces to names. Each of them have met differing people of that group, but not all of them. You're the only one that has.
Are they she'll kind of wandered nearby. Are they chatting about anything in particular?
It's hush but lively. So you don't know what it is, but it is slightly spirited. And a little glances paid here and there, like over the shoulder, just to see who's paying attention.
She will bite her lower lip in making a decision, a social decision, and will enter the radar of the group. Definitely not like walking amongst them, but so much
you're not going right into
no
the bubble. You're just sort of entering the outer gravity field of it. Okay.
seeing if anyone clocks her.
Lila immediately clocks you. Ah, there she is. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here.
She will.
And she does the full, like, arm across the shoulders to grab the far shoulder and just pull you right in. Okay, so you know these two assholes here, right?
She goes to nod, but with the, like, assholes, she's trying to not agree. She's trying to not agree with that term, so she's like, yeah, I've met him.
You hear Edward. Yeah, well played. Lila, dear, why did you bring the new blood into the huddle? Because she needs something to do, and we're going to do a thing. Your impulsiveness is going to get all of us killed one of these days. No. You worry too much. I'm the only one here that does. And Matthias sort of leans into frame a little bit. Oh shit, I recognize. You're the one that crashed the car the other night. Yeah. Wait a minute. You let her crash your car, and now you're bringing her into... Oh, fuck this, I'm out. And he just walks away.
I mean, if I'm not driving a car, then things should go fine.
Edward reaches out, puts the hand on the shoulder to guide them back in, but Matthias is just laughing. Whatever it wasn't serious. Oh shit, girl, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. I will live, hopefully, for centuries to come, and will never live that event down. I can tell already.
And you hear Fitz on the other side of you going, now you're learning.
Doing okay. Struggling to get places without a vehicle. And since I've proven to not be the most useful behind the wheel, we're adapting.
You see Edward look at you with a little more scrutiny. Have you met, and when I say this, I don't mean Cora, have you met the driver yet?
I feel like I have.
I know Ellie has gotten a ride. Has Cora? Nope. Ellie and Poppy. Poppy.
Yeah.
Did anyone else get a ride from driver 616? Okay. I don't believe Tabby got one.
Okay, I was thinking of a chauffeur that we've...
No. Well...
No.
Bit of a local and very real urban myth of one of our kind that tends to show up on the Rider app to provide a drive here and there. Sometimes he shows up when you need it, uncalled for. Other times he seems to just show up when you use the app. Might be something to look into.
Driver
if anything
app?
Else, it's the local rideshare.
Note.
Now, I wouldn't want to rely on it, but something to look into.
Thank you.
How are you getting along since our last conversation? And Lila just leans in, cheek to your cheek. Just, oh, she's getting along great. So I had the one crash.
Been attempting to get the lay of some land. Did some physical training, working on moving faster. I don't know if you're interested in that type of details. Doing okay and trying to find a routine.
Routine is good. Routine teaches discipline. A disciplined Nosferatu can be put to work in a variety of ways. Lila may not show it, but she's more disciplined than she likes to let on. Now, why do you gotta go around giving away all my sexy secrets? And you just hear Fitz laughing. Girl, you ain't got enough secrets left. We've all seen your OnlyFans.
Red-tipped ears.
Good, I meant for you to see that. And that's when Matthias does more legitimately try to Homer Simpson out of this scene. He's like, oh, I did not sign up for this shit. Hey, where you going? And Lila follows after him, leaving you with just Edward and Fitz. You might notice that Jub is not there. Yeah,
they're kind of looking at her, expecting.
Well, I'm waiting to see if you have something you want to say or ask.
No, sure. I notice Sir Jub is not present.
There's this. That's hilarious. Sir Jub.
I don't know. Would he hate it if I called him that?
I think you need to stop deferring to the animal.
I feel like there are plenty present or near this location who do outrank me, so it's good to assume.
Yep. You're not wrong. There is a pecking order. The problem is that it changes on the daily. And we don't send memos.
How have you both been? I heard that there was some needing done.
What have you heard?
Only that.
Edward and Fitz do share a look. It's very quizzical. What is it that you think needs doing?
Well, if four very capable, esteemed Nosferatu are...
Don't blow smoke up my ass.
It's part of my reasoning.
No, let her talk.
If four very capable Nosferatu are potentially looking for someone like me, a newer Nosferatu, they might need someone to be put in the line of fire, because otherwise they would be very good at accomplishing whatever task themselves.
It's in all your long years, have you ever had anyone volunteer to be a patsy? More often than you think, less than you'd hope.
Gotta start somewhere.
You need higher ambition. Okay, I'm genuinely curious. And Edward's going to pull you in just a little bit closer. Have you ever, and I mean this with all respect, Have you ever crimed before?
Yes.
Sorry, Artem just distracted me.
Before and current living situation. Unliving situation.
How has that worked out for you?
Been good so far. The first attempt was getting involved with someone who did not have discretion. So I was outed for said help pretty quick. But my side of it went well. Information gathering, to be specific.
Fitz leans in. Now, was it their indiscretion or was it yours? I see what happened here. The pause. It says a whole story.
Yeah, it was absolutely mine because I shouldn't have been involved with her anyway, but...
Oh, personal growth. Good.
She's not around anymore.
Oh. Did you get a little bit of revenge?
No.
And you do see the two of them sort of go almost shoulder to shoulder, very intrigued, very interested.
No. But I lived and she didn't.
Oh, that is intriguing. Was this a situation you engineered or one that you simply lucked out on?
I would veer towards the side of the latter. But again, the crowd you keep and the circumstances of the people that you spend your time with and trust. Can't say I pity her too much.
Oh, now that is interesting. Perhaps, Tappy, we could have further conversations. I always need a little bit of work done sourcing this and that. Assuming you don't mind getting your hands dirty.
Not whatsoever.
Looks down. Now here's the question, Tabby, or Tara. Are Tabby's hands dirty? Yes, you are running around in the sewers, but the Warrens are quite clean.
She went rat hunting, so probably.
So they're dirty?
Yeah.
Okay. He looks down at the hands. Well, clearly.
Shit. I hope I didn't touch too much in the car.
Well, not my concern. I'm going to make sure you have my number.
Please.
So as you trade that...
Is this Edward or Fitz?
This is Edward.
Okay.
I assume you already have Fitz's at this point.
Pretty sure. If not, I will add it now.
Okay. As we're going to pan away from that, the camera's going to follow Lila getting a piggyback ride from Matthias, who's just so nonplussed. But this bleeds into, I'll say, as this goes by and reveals behind him in the deep background, Kate. The evening is much more bustling than it was. The conversational dance partners have swapped around, but some of them have stayed static. But what are you looking for in particular? I do have a few things to throw at you, but is there anything in particular?
Is Innsbruck still with his person?
Innsbruck, let me go and look at my list. So I had him with a few different people.
I like that you've mapped how the room moves over the night.
Right?
Kind of. Oh, I had a few written down for him, and now I don't know where it is.
Because we at some point need to reschedule.
Mm-hmm. Apparently not as much as I thought. Okay. He seems to be talking with... a woman in a darker, longer coat. Slightly pinned up, dark, frizzy hair. But it seems to be more matter of fact. Nothing that you couldn't go and interrupt if you wanted.
I'll head there then.
Okay. You find him on the balcony that overlooks the main conversation hall. It may dawn on you that Vega was perched very close by. Was.
Because she's dispersed into the crowd.
Mm-hmm. You notice that he takes notice of you. He says something to the other woman. There's a curt utterance of something, a little nod, and she walks off right by you. No introduction. He turns and leans back on the railing. Ah, Miss Fulton.
Mr. Innsbruck.
How are you this evening?
Doing well.
Is there something I can help you with?
Yes, we need to reschedule our evening of learning.
Things have a habit of getting chaotic. I do apologize.
It's all right. We're nothing if not adaptable.
Quite true. So, how are you getting on?
Started at Veritas.
Well, something to be said for the structure of the institution. Has its uses.
I'll certainly know my way backwards and forwards around Savannah before long.
Very much. Ins and outs all over the place. I'm sure by now you have a concept of the level of surveillance. Eyes, ears, boots everywhere. Looks down at your feet, although you seem ill-suited to boots.
I have more than one pair of shoes. People seem so surprised.
While it's not untrue that people like to wear many hats, everyone has a preference. And you can't tell me that you'd prefer wearing boots.
Boots are important when they're necessary, but for court, I prefer to stand a little taller.
He's going to sort of motion you over. So as he turns over to lean on the balcony itself, facing forward, a little more conspiratorially. Well, seems like you have aspirations for them. And he angles his head towards the aforementioned mean girl clique.
Lash was on my list to talk to if possible tonight.
Oh, I'm not quite sure you're prepared for that, but I would love to see how that goes.
So would I.
Do you know what she does?
The how much she told me. her number,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think she gave me specifics, just that we should talk at some point.
Hmm. Is that what you say to him? That you just have a number, no specifics?
Yeah.
What would be your guess?
See, I've seen her in the fur coat. Is she still wearing the fur coat and like pearls tonight?
She's wearing... Ooh, this would be very amusing. Think like a very elegant black strapless opera gown with accompanying like mid bicep opera gloves, all latex, with a very high slit on the leg that she is very expertly keeping to a minimum, as if the power and control is, I could be showing all this, but I'm not.
I think she definitely caters to a higher end clientele. Business. I think the latex has a key clue in this mystery.
Oh, that's just something she likes to do for fun. But you're not wrong. Part of being what we are is not shying away from it. Some of us have the power suit. She has her own version.
And dresses can be their own kind of armor. Weapon.
Just so. People say that Venju has softened since the Crusades. We just adapted.
Not everyone understands.
There are those within the clan that don't. They rarely make it a century. So, something I would have you consider is, what is your armor? I don't expect an answer now. Many people take decades to figure that out.
It's such a Ventrue thing. Leave a question, come back in a decade for the answer. You and my sire would get along.
Yeah, that would be high praise. But it is in our nature to think, not in the next 5 minutes, next 5 years.
Generations.
Very good. So then, I find it very curious you didn't ask me what I got up to the other night. That preempted you.
I'm trying to separate what I know from what Dreamy knows about Costello, because I saw him leave with Costello, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even think I know that he's Giovanni. I think it's just Cora that knows all his deep dark secrets.
She may have mentioned, I'm not entirely certain.
I don't
even think
remember
you told
the
us you ran
details
into
of
him
that
in the
interaction
cemetery.
enough.
Oh,
You said you were
that's
heading
true.
to the cemetery, and like that was the last we heard of you. Other than
Yeah,
I'm
I
alive.
didn't say that I mentioned him, that I met him there.
Yeah, I don't think
I
I
know that
anything about him.
we talked about him a little tiny bit with, it was you and Artem and I think, all standing around
I think we ran into each other upstairs.
Yeah, in like the loft space. I don't remember if I said he was Giovanni though.
Nope, because I think I would have had alarm bells go off.
So we'll say, just to make it easy, you don't know that he's Giovanni.
I just saw him move with a gentleman.
Yeah.
Well, I know what you do as to the specifics of the other night. Something out of the ordinary, even for what you do.
Interesting. At this point, he has turned around to lean his back against the railing, arms crossed, giving you full attention.
Because if it was the ordinary, why not bring me along? Now, who was that gentleman you left with?
That'd be Mr. Savini. Someone I occasionally work with. And if you ever work with or for me, you'd be occasionally working alongside him as well. I have a few individuals in my orbits.
Is he a part of our family?
No. We have a few things in common, but that is not one of them. And while I applaud the discretionary term, when in Elysium, clan, leave the vulgar ergot at the door. Though it has its uses, I am assuming among the new bloods.
Been out and about amongst the city for quite a few days, so falling into a habit.
Are you learning anything from them?
The new bloods? I'm going to spend quite as much time with them.
Anything good?
Artem is quiet observer. I think he takes in a lot more than he lets on. And to see him paired with Chris has been interesting.
Oh yes, the Seneschal's daughter. That is quite the mix.
I'll just raise an eyebrow.
You didn't know. I'll deal with that as you will. It's fairly common knowledge.
But then, do share.
I just did. So if you're paying attention to him, you have eyes on her, and potentially eyes on him. And he's going to crane over his shoulder to where there is Alden, still sitting, discussing very quietly with a slender, pale-skinned redhead. I have to start thinking in steps.
I didn't set out to get to know her because of who she is, but I'm not going to miss the opportunity to learn.
Well, good. Do you have a set schedule so far with Veritas, or...
Storyteller, do I?
I believe what we discussed is we'll have part of your early evening dedicated to that. Not every night, but to an extent. There would then allow you to have the back half of your evening to do whatever.
Gotcha. I'm free by mid-evening most nights.
Pack those boots we discussed.
I've also gotten the jacket and the gloves.
Good. Keep that at the ready. Keep yourself topped up. And if you haven't worked on expanding your herd, get to it.
On my list.
If you're going to shadow me. I can't have you hungry.
Of course.
Scenes I tend to go around tend to be quite... what's the nice way of putting this? A ruddy red lather tends to shellac many of those scenes. I can't have you experiencing a hunger frenzy because you weren't doing your due diligence.
Certainly not.
No. That isn't every night, but it's common enough. We'll talk tomorrow night.
All right.
We'll meet here. And I'll show you a little bit of what I do.
Look forward to it.
He cranes his neck over the railing again, goes, that's my cue.
Can I spot Harlan from up here?
Ooh. As he walks away, I'm going to have you do a... No, I'm not going to have you even roll for that. He wouldn't be hidden. He's not Vega. You would see Harlan, Chris, and that other blonde lady again.
Was this the woman that was with Belle and the man?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will head down to them because that line about expanding your herd
Mm-hmm.
set off a light bulb. She needs to go talk to Harlan.
Interesting. Okay, we're going to pan out from you. And we're going to check in with Ellie.
Ellie is aware of the not being allowed to use any talents while in Elysium. But even before their new life, Ellie was relatively experienced at being a bit of a blending into the background. So Ellie's taking some time to, like, it's a little bit of wandering as if they're going somewhere, as if they're just about to talk to someone else, but all the time.
So you are being the mobile wallflower.
Yeah. And
okay.
The whole time their main objective here is, they probably saw Cora already left, but their main objective is seeing where Kate and Artem are, and specifically who are they talking to.
Sorry, which one are you looking?
I mean, let's see. Probably
I missed a word in there. Sorry.
Sorry. I'm looking for Kate and Artem, and just
Kate
mainly
and
seeing
Artem.
who they're talking to. I would guess probably priority, because likely she doesn't know I'm there yet. Probably Kate first, and then if I start getting suspicious, then move on to Artem.
Right, because you would know that Kate is there because of the group text that Tabby showed you.
And I saw who was all on the group text.
Mm-hmm. And that you're not invited. We know. But you also know Artem's not in it.
I also don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I got a close-up on Artem, so I knew that he was going to be.
Well, what I mean is you know that he's not in the group chat. He's just the subject of the group chat.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd say you would spot if you're really just keeping a scan on the room or the
Yes.
entirety of the interior of Elysium.
Yeah.
You would eventually spot Kate up on the railing talking with someone. Basically, like if a shark wolf could be a man in a suit.
Yeah.
Every bit of predator.
And I don't recognize him.
You've seen him around. If you've been to Elysium, you've seen him around. You know who he is. You've probably never had a conversation, but you know who he is and what he does.
Got it. Okay, so I do know that what his job description is.
You would also know clan. Like it's one of those things where, especially if you're a Ventru, you don't hide that. You're very proud of it.
Yeah.
If he didn't tell you, someone would tell you for him.
Right.
You're looking for Artem. Are there any NPCs that you would be looking for as well?
I mean, my main thing was just to see. My main thing in this front was to see who they were talking to, because then it's maybe someone that, if I feel comfortable enough, I could possibly see if I can talk to those people as well. But it's a little bit of information gathering on who they're connecting with.
Okay. Kind of trying to graph out everyone's social map that can have its uses.
And it's one of those things where they also look like they're texting, but it's all going into their notes app.
Do you have to be careful about that? Leaving information on your phone.
I like to see. Well, I mean, I guess we can talk about this later, but I wonder if it's something where Ellie like does a shorthand, so it's not like Kate at this time met with Innsbruck. It was like
people who
K
do surveillance have to do so in a very rapid pace at times.
Yeah.
So you do have to break it down to E talk to H.
Yeah.
Or it's like HL or something like that.
Yeah, it's mostly I'm saving it right now so that I can later transfer it and remove it. I mean, I do have my laptop, but I'm not going to go back and grab it right now.
Yeah, just doing active surveillance without the van inside the main hall would be quite the look. Then you would have all the mean girls around you.
Yeah.
Well, if you're looking for Artem, he would have just come out of a parlor talking with... you'd know who Robbie Teague is.
Yeah.
You would know that he's a gangrel. You would know that he's a bit of a go-between this county and many others. That he's kind of the unofficial news from afar kind of person. Not always 100% accurate, but he gets a lot of information that is useful and maybe doesn't go through the usual channels.
Interesting.
The other person, you're not entirely sure who they are other than the fact that you know they are another kindred. You've seen them around.
Yeah.
You've seen him mostly around other Bruja. Sometimes Ventru.
Got it.
But other than that, Artem would be walking out to maybe wander around seeing who else is around, or what do you want to do?
Well, in that case, if Artem is just coming out from another conversation, Ellie will take the opportunity to arrive, and I'm trying to figure out an opening line here. But Ellie probably wouldn't be great at opening lines anyway. You know what? No, there's not going to be pretending here. Ellie will kind of appear in front of Artem and just say, "Oh, you're the subject of many people's attention, apparently."
Kind of looks around. He gets like a suspicious look on his face. He tries to find Chris in the crowd.
I say for a moment you do spot her. She sees you, big smile. And then she goes right back to doing whatever she was doing.
Probably something I need to handle later. Your name was Ellie, right?
Yes.
How are you this evening? Big plans?
Well, I got a new car, so that's something. Can drive around a little better. Got some lessons from Cora just now, where I don't know where she went, but very helpful getting some new parts.
Yeah, she's good. Yeah, should talk to her tonight too.
Are you still and looks over at Chris? Are you still doing your sworn duty?
Of course.
Well, if you how is that going anyway?
It's fine. It's more of a showing me around situation, you know? Not from here.
Makes sense.
As you, Ellie, are playing tennis with a wall.
Yeah,
That's called racquetball.
Yeah.
The wall always wins.
You both see a blonde woman approach. Artem, you'd recognize her from much closer, wearing the grid girl costume. This time, much fancier and still somehow scandalous. Oh, hello again.
How are you doing?
Oh, much better now, thank you for asking. But my feelings are a little hurt. You never called me back, and her fingers just walking up the sternum. If she's bothered by your presence, Ellie, it does not show. If anything, the audience is helpful.
Well, you know, if a guy like me wants to text someone like you, call someone like you, he's got to be prepared. He's got to bring his A game, you know?
Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret about women. We don't care if you get it right. We just care that you try. So, after you.
He brings up his phone.
Oh, no, sweetie. Mm-mm. She's just going to reach for the hand of the beautiful dum-dum. Do you want to go for a walk?
Sure. Sorry, Ellie.
She looks like she's about to run her finger along Ellie's chin. And then she just helps put the lower jaw back in place as she walks out in that, you know, that Instagram trend of the point of view of the woman's arm leading the man holding the camera? She's doing that to Artem right now.
Have a good walk.
Sort of looks at Yvette. I'm sure I will.
The last thing you hear, Ellie, as she says just loud enough for you to hear, "Oh, I'm gonna wear you like a scarf." And she leads him outside. We'll come back to Artem in a bit. What does Ellie do with that?
Okay.
He was right.
Just Ellie is taking that moment of just being like, it was like kind of terrified of what happened, but also really impressed in how just like Artem just like went with it and just pivoted so well, and I was just like, oh.
I'm watching the wrong people for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Ellie's like suddenly like, okay, I got the attention. Makes sense. And we'll look is going to take the chance to I'm thinking about possibly, because Ellie has met Chris when Artem was with the rest of them. So Ellie might have no idea how Ellie is going to introduce themselves to someone, but do I recognize the two people that Chris is with?
She's not with Lewis anymore, as he's upstairs. She is with Harlan and a few random other people. Max would recognize one of them. But since he's no longer with us.
I don't get it. I don't get a feeling like from another life.
No.
Are there any other besides Tabby and I? Do I see any other Nosferatu?
There are.
I mean, so I probably see Lila and Fitz. Anyone else in the room?
You would see Patra.
Right.
And believe it or not, She has filtered in to the Mean Girls group. That music changes.
I have a thought.
One would
And
hope.
it involves Ellie going to Petra.
Mm-hmm.
And it involves Ellie, if it's possible, Ellie's gonna come up to Petra and like maybe see if Petra doesn't notice them, Ellie's gonna try to like maybe walk in their line of sight or something like that.
Okay. She'll be having a conversation with Lash, though you wouldn't know who that is. You may have seen her in Elysium before, but you wouldn't be able to put name and face together. She's mid-sentence. Stops. Ellie, honey. Come here. Come. And she's holding out just this dainty little wrist that looks even more spindly by the fact that she's this emaciated corpse in a fancy dress and a wig, a nice wig. And it occurs to you that all of this fancy finery is in pristine condition. You know, she lives in the Warrens. She had to either get it here or get here, get cleaned up, get dressed. Or maybe she has a different avenue entirely.
Petra.
And she's still holding out the hand like she's expecting you to kiss it.
Ellie takes their long taloned hand, wraps fully around Petra's fingers, and continues looking at Petra, sees what's expected, and kisses the hand. And then unravels their fingers.
It's appropriate that the music lulled for a moment because all the Mean Girls in that little semicircle had gone quiet and turned all focus towards this. As Petra was in the middle. Oh dear, it's so nice to find someone with manners.
It certainly is.
See, just because someone spends most of their time in the sewers doesn't mean they don't know the niceties.
I was raised right.
Oh, well, clearly. And you see at least Ava taking this rather sharp attention on you. Like she just found her next meal.
So, I was
In mid-sentence, you see Lord Laveau, who you know to be the Toreador Primogen, the Mathilda, who I can't remember her name off the top of my head because it's been that kind of a day.
Swafford, I think.
Swafford, thank you. And Elizabeth Redgrave, the Ventru clan whip, just lose interest, and they kind of sort of sub-huddle to have the rest of their conversation.
You seem like someone who is good at talking to people.
How kind of you to notice.
And I was wondering if that is something, well, you probably, not a lot of our clan are great at it. And I was wondering if you have...
Oh, you came to the right person then, you poor thing.
Yep.
Oh, come along, dear. We have such things to show you.
Thank you.
And you see the latex-dressed lady goes, oh, taking them away already. I suppose I'll have my turn with them eventually. And you wouldn't know this voice, but Cora would. As Grace Holloway sort of leans into Ava and goes, another turn on the rack maybe, darling. The two of them just laugh and laugh and laugh. Petra grins, looking over her shoulder at the two of them. Now, you could have what's left. Come along, dear. And I think on that very, very nervous note is where we're going to end for tonight. But before we do, we're going to go around the room and see how everyone is faring. And we're going to start with Ellie because that's just hilarious for me.
Ellie's good at observing. Ellie's good at taking in their surroundings. Ellie's not very good and barely was able to keep some of their, keep some of the act up in terms of Cora. And so they've realized with that they need to look to someone to know a little bit more about how to draw information out without letting someone know that it's like, how do you draw information when you don't have anything to draw yet? And I think some of that comes from being better at being able to being better at just general conversation with others. And
You've
so that's
picked
why...
the best and worst person for this.
Yes. I picked a fellow Nosferatu who has figured out a way to do that, but also now caught the attention of... which was...
You pinged so many active sonars in one moment.
Yep.
Well, I can't wait to see how that plays out for you. And from my view, we're going to go to Tabby next.
Tabby is trying to not sound and seem desperate and overly excited, but this potential project being worked on by these several Nos is exactly what she is hoping for.
2 Nos, 2 Ventru.
2 Nos and 2 Ventru, thank you. Okay, I was thinking of Edward with someone else. Yeah, makes sense. I'll have to check back and make sure I know who those people are. But while she's not having, while she's trying to not have any disillusions as to what task they would have for her, she's been really wanting to be useful, and in this very suspicious and prove yourself society, it has been difficult for her to find that and find community. The Nosferatu have been the most so, but even then there's still several bits of disconnect between her and the rest who have been around for a while and have their roles. So she's feeling hopeful.
Okay. Kate.
Kate is just warming up. The conversation with Innsbruck, it felt like it went really well. Getting to sit and look out over Court, it wasn't like a power thing, like, yes, this is where I'm meant to be, but getting to have that view and look out over the different groups and how people are mingling and starting to file away the patterns in the groups and who's interacting with who, was something she would have paid attention to, and is making lists of who to talk to next while we're here. And that list continues to grow.
And you would know firsthand that while these may be the people they're talking to tonight, it's not who they're necessarily talking to the next night, the night after that. Things are very dynamic.
But also beginning to see how certain groups interact with each other.
Certainly getting a window into that room. Okay. Cora.
I think Cora enjoyed peeling back yet another layer into Ellie's background during the drive. It's something that, we've had these interactions in a few different situations now, and every time there's a little bit more that comes out. And so, yeah, that was nice. And beyond that point, her immediate thought is pulled in two directions. She is feeling really quite happy about this little package from Lewis and what's coming next for her. What she related in the library is true. That she's really looking forward to feeling a bit more established now in this first week, right? She's checking off this list and it seems to be panning out. The other direction that she's pulled tonight is just wanting to continue to nurture these relationships that she's making, because that has been or is becoming such an important part of her new existence too. So, checking in with people like Chris, Liv, finishing up things with Ed, right? And those are all sharing space in her mind.
Okay. Artem.
So, I feel like talking with Limehouse went pretty well. he seems like a good guy to know. And if that continues to go well, it'll be a good to have another potential source of work. Always good to see Jethro. That is a rare treat. And immediately, also the discussion with Ellie went very well. It was very normal. Nothing to be concerned about there. And then the immediate feelings are, that meme, The Simpsons, where Ralphie's sitting on the bus and he's like, "I'm in danger." It's basically that.
Not untrue.
Then true.
And back in the box he goes.
Hey, this Ventrue does want to talk to you, so. Also, Kate would be so proud of Artem for how that conversation with Ellie went. You gave away nothing. Good job.
We're all very impressed. But I guess we'll end it for now, right there. Pick up next week. Or no, sorry, 2 weeks from now, as we are off next week. However, we still have 3 games next week, which would be our Age of Myth finale arc on Tuesday. Our Age of Innovation continues on Thursday. And then next week, I believe we have Star Wars.
Yes.
So tune in and watch all our mayhem. Until then, thanks for coming.